Okay. Okay. All right, I think we're back on live. So guys, give me a thumbs up or some chat on Facebook so I can make sure that we're on live. So we can now share that again for others. So I apologize again for technical difficulties. So, okay, good. So, all right, Lloyd, start again about your journey. Why it was going to be why your fitness journey. Go ahead.
Sure. So like I was saying before we dropped it, you know, my claim to fame was just being the best uncle out there. My siblings would always drop the kids off by me, and my task was to just kind of take them out to have fun, play around. And by the time, you know, they were done having a day with Uncle Lloyd, they'd be tuckered out, they'd come home, go back to their moms, and that was a wrap, in bed. Great day. My siblings were super happy. I was happy. The nieces and nephews, everyone had a good time. And then that kind of changed one day when I just didn't have the energy. When I took my nieces and nephews out to play, I brought them back and they were still bouncing around the wall, having fun, interrupting my siblings who were, you know, talking and thought they were going to have a restful day. And one sibling, we won't mention any names at the moment, took real offense at the thought and reminded me, like, you are no longer best uncle because you brought my kids back home and they're still, you know, looking to do stuff with me. You're supposed to take them out and bring them home tired. You know, that kind of stung a little bit, but, you know, I took it in. And from there, that led to a significant discussion about health and fitness, of who was actually in shape, who wasn't in shape, who could outperform the other. And let's figure out how we could settle this once and for all versus talking about it. The result of that was we resolved it to be a triathlon. And in St. Croix, we had the St. Croix sprint triathlon and the half Ironman at the time. So it became, well, you go do the sprint triathlon and then we can talk, because you clearly can't do it now. I'm not one to back down from a challenge, so it was fine. I can do that. How far do we have to swim? I don't know. Bike, don't own a bike. Run, I haven't run since I missed the train trying to go to work, but hey, we'll figure it out. So that was pretty much the start of you know, my triathlon journey. My sister was unhappy with my performance as an uncle, with keeping up with the kids, and she dared me, double dog dared me. I mean, the first dare I just let it go, like whatever, but then it became a double dog dare. Who's gonna back down from, you know, from that? Yes. So signed up, registered, and we got the ball rolling.
And I want you to know something about our family. We're not competitive, but we are competitive. We love some board games. And when we sit down to play a game, we're serious with it. And so I still remember one time a friend, one of your friends was over, we're supposed to play Monopoly. And the first thing they asked when they started was counting the pieces. It was like, oh no, we're not going to play with this person because, you know, from point B to point B, railroad to railroad is 10. We are not counting. It's like, this would be like playing with a baby. So no, certain things we just don't do. So when it comes to fitness though, growing up, my sister who was on a few weeks ago, she was a runner. She could have done well in the sports, but my brother as well too, back in the day, yeah, we were in shape. We walked everywhere on the island. We walked on the island. We went to visit my maternal grandmother. So we did a lot of walking. It was nothing for us to be in shape. But now all of a sudden, we were not. And so my brother Lloyd, when he began this journey with this triathlon, and he did it, Well, how was that first experience when you did it, Lloyd?
It was something. It was the best decision I made. At the time I could swim based on our current previous definition of the word.
You wouldn't drown.
Well, I could have a good time in the water.
Okay.
So whenever we went to the beach, I could swim, from the boat to land. I could swim in, to the buoys. I can swim. There was never a not can swim, but there was no lap lanes or back and forth counting yards. How far did you go? It was like, I can swim. Until you got to triathlon, it became, what's your 100-yard minute pace? Or like, what? Or how many did you do? Like, I don't know. I went from those rocks and I went to those rocks. that was it. So it was, it was a big learning curve jumping into trying to, come back to DC, get a gym membership, go to the pool and just start swimming lap after lap. And, you're not playing, you're just going back and forth and getting accustomed to the monotony of going back and forth, looking at the black line. I didn't own a bike, so I had to borrow my cousin Kian's bike. And she's a lot shorter than me. So I was out there on her, her bike riding around, trying to make it fit. Funny thing is I the last pair of shoes, running shoes I had were from college. So, this is at least, oh man, several years post-college. So, they were in the closet, probably had some paint on them from, activities. So, I'd go for my first few runs and, my feet are hurting. I told my cousin, like, man, my feet are killing me. She's like, dude, you've had those shoes for a decade. Of course, you've got paint on them. You got to go buy some shoes. So it was a big, adjustment trying to figure out, all the things you need when you're moving into active lifestyle that no one told you. And back then, the internet wasn't as as full of information as it is now, where you could just Google something. It was really, just trying to piecemeal and figure it out. But the training went well. I came home, practiced, got together, got in shape, then returned after the winter, came down to St. Croix, signed up, did the sprint race, had a really good time. It was amazing because in St. Croix, the biggest thing that you want to do is be able to swim from the wharf over to Hotel on the Quay.
Yes.
I remember growing up and seeing the older guys, the big kids who were in my sister's class would be able to do that. You'd come from a boat trip and they would jump off the boat and swim from the wharf over to Hotel on the Quay. And you'd be talking about that for, months. Like, yo, did you see so-and-so? He swam that, swam over and like, the guy has left, he's gone off to college, probably married, but, years later as kids, you're talking about that one guy you knew who could swim from the wharf over to the quay. Like, it was, the biggest accomplishment in the world was that feat. So
I want to fast forward though, Lloyd. I want to tell me, how did all of that now lead you to finding this new passion with OnPoint Fitness?
Oh,
how did that?
So once I did the first race and got that done, I was just completely hooked on triathlon. I mean, even now I warn everyone, if you pick up the sport, it's addictive. You're always looking for that perfect combination of a great swim, a great bike, a great run. So after the first one, I met some great people at the race who told me, that there's triathlons all over the world and different distances besides just the ones we had in St. Croix. So once I looked into it, I started to, do more. And as I did more and more, my family and friends started to see that I was hooked on it. And they started to say, okay, what is this sport? What is it that you're doing? And as I got better at it, they were like, okay, now tell me exactly what techniques you're using for your swim, what techniques are you using for the run, because by definition, I'm not an athlete. So, within my family and my close friends, that is the constant joke that, Lloyd is an athlete. I've always been more on the sciences and the books kind of a person. So now I'm here doing sports. So once I started to investigate and research techniques for swimming and running and biking for myself, and people started to ask me for help, it just kind of blossomed into, okay, then someone one day said, hey, I'll pay you to show me how you did that. And it was like, wait, what? Okay, you're gonna actually give me money to show you that? Okay, sure. And once I accepted the first payment, that person told a friend and was like, oh yeah, you got to go see Lloyd. He'll get you ready for your race. And I was like, okay, sure. So
okay, so I want to pause. I want to pause you guys for that, because when Lloyd says he's done race after race after race after race, he has done almost all of the Ironman. So tell us how many, what's the distance for swim, the distance for biking, and the distance for the running for an Ironman triathlon?
So for an Ironman triathlon, you are looking at a 2.4 mile swim, a 112-mile bike ride, and a 26.2-mile run.
Yes. And so he has done that in most of the continents, correct?
Every continent that has one.
Yes, he has done it. And I want to brag on my brother. He is the first African-American to complete on all of those. Am I correct?
To my knowledge, and to everyone, that's where it stands. So
that is. So guys, you're meeting someone famous. This is Black history, a fact. African-American history fact.
Let's get it on Jeopardy.
Say what now?
I said, let's get it on Jeopardy.
Oh, let's get it on Jeopardy. Ooh, that would be so good. Because now when we're talking about health and a family affair, when Lloyd started doing this and we saw him now as a family, because none of us were really athletes per se, and we'd all gotten older. Some of us had children, had put on some weight. And I remember going to see him in DC and saying, yeah, I want to start getting back in shape, but I'm like, I don't want to run because I'm too full figured, top heavy. It's going to hurt. He said, oh, no problem. I'm going to take you to some friends and they're going to fit you for a bra. I still remember that fitting. Finally found a bra that I could run in and not have my jugs hurting or bouncing. Got fitted for shoes as well. He took me to his connection there in DC, got me some shoes, fitted, and he taught us how to run. Because one of the things I told Lloyd when I started running, my excuses, we have excuses. Excuses was, oh, I need a bra. And the second one is that I was getting injured, shin splints, injury. And he says, right, you're not running correctly. And so you ended up teaching us how to run correctly. Can you explain that to them?
Yeah, so, when it comes to movement, everything has a proper biomechanics. And same thing with running or any sport that you do. So using the right biomechanics is key. So with running, it's all about making sure you have the right run posture, making sure that you're running tall versus slouching. You're allowing yourself to use your core to run versus just trying to power through. You're allowing yourself to kind of lean forward. So gravity does a lot of the work. If you ever envisioned a 1-year-old learning to walk, you see they kind of lift themselves up, get their balance. And once they have their balance, they just lean forward and fall towards you. And their little feet just kind of roll around until they get there. So envision yourself moving that way, where you're just gently moving forward, kind of falling into the run versus trying to muscle or pound or power your way through it.
And what does that technique call?
So that technique is called chi running. It was designed by a guy named Danny Dreyer. So that's the technique I kind of taught you guys how to do so that you can, gradually add the miles in.
Yes, and that was a big step for many of us. And when I have a conversation with another family member, we're going to share how she got us running and doing it more often. Now, the other thing that we learned to do, as Lloyd mentioned, we did know how to swim. We had basics. I had basics. But when we were now going to try to do this triathlons with Lloyd, he was like, no, there's a different, a better technique to learn how to swim,
Oh yeah.
Lloyd. So again, when you have the right tools, guys, you have to have the right tools for running, swimming, for stress, for relationships. It can make life so much easier and prevent injuries. So,
Absolutely.
what type
Absolutely.
of technique you showed us for swimming?
Well, the thing with adult learners, whether you think you know how to swim or you're actually trying to pick it up, a lot of people don't actually have balance and self-awareness in the water. So a key component to being able to swim well is figuring out all your balance positions in the water and making yourself streamlined versus trying to struggle and fight and splash or kick as hard as you can, so that you end up just feeling like if you're sinking, or you get tired because you kick so hard. So just learning how to be streamlined, how to be balanced, and then adding in the propulsion so that you're cooperating with the water versus trying to fight the water the whole time. So, and the technique was based on total immersion, which I'm a coach for. So once I learned it, it became, all right, I've got to teach everybody I know how to do it, because it was like, it transformed my swim ability. So it was like, okay, everybody, streamline, balance. All right, now let me see your swim stroke. Do this, do that. Easy on the kick.
Uh-huh.
So that was it. But I'd like to point out that once I did that first race, I then dared you to do yours.
Yes.
So I had to
Yes.
put the script and say, well, if I did it, now you
Yeah.
have to back it up, and you had to do one.
And I was trying to find that picture of me from my first race that we did on St. Croix, and I was totally out of breath and winded, but it was a great accomplishment. And one of the things that in this journey with health as a family, we realize there's no such thing as failure. There's a learning curve, because I'm going to have Lloyd tell us about the first one that he did abroad and how that one went. That story when you went to Brazil the first time for that one, because so often we give up after we think we didn't succeed with something, instead of saying, oh no, there was a learning curve. There was something that we learned. What could you learn that you could take away from this experience now to do it? So many of you may have tried something as far as new relationships or different skills for active listening, or trying to do something with your health and say, oh, you're giving up. Lloyd, what happened the first time you did one internationally?
Oh my goodness. So that's an interesting situation. So, like I said, once I did the first one, the passion was you can travel. You can travel with the sport. They're Ironman triathlons all over the globe. So it was like, let's explore the world. So Brazil sounded like an amazing place. I invited my parents to come along to see it, my cousins. So we had a nice big group of people to come and do the race, or come and watch as I did it. I'm a warm water kind of guy, and apparently Brazil wasn't warm water, and I didn't realize that till I got there. Everyone else had wetsuits, and I didn't. But luckily, a friend of mine had one, an extra one, but it was a short sleeve, a sleeveless one. So he gave me that one. I tried it on. It fit well enough, and that's what I used. So I didn't come prepared with my own equipment. That was the first issue. So in the swim, everyone went out. I went out, started off well, got a little cold, but figured it was okay. And mysteriously, I just kind of kept swimming for some reason. And I kept chasing the buoy, because you had to turn at the buoy. I kept swimming and the buoy kept moving, and I kept swimming and finally caught the buoy and made the turn, came back in, and it was a 2-loop course. So here's the question. I've gone more than half of my allotted time. So it's probably smart to stop, because if you did, more than half the time on loop 1, you're probably not going to finish in time for loop 2. Or maybe you could go and do it and figure it out. So I'm not a quitter. I've got, my family, friends, a whole big entourage there to support me. Who's going to quit now? So I suck it up. I dive back in the water, go for loop 2. And I end up swimming after that buoy that's just kind of adrift until, I just ran out of time. The time on the clock for the race is 2 hours and 20 minutes for the swim. I was halfway in the middle of the ocean on my way back to the land when, I looked at my watch and realized that it was, 2:25, the race was over, and that was all she wrote. So I just kind of rolled on my back and just kind of started to make my way to shore, slowly coming back. And that was it. The interesting part is that on land, there was a whole lot of other drama unfolding that I didn't know about until later. So apparently while I was out making my way back to shore, the race announcer had announced that, hey, all right, guys, let's move on to the bike portion. All of the athletes are in. Let's clear the beach. And, my mom was like, no. There's still somebody out there. My boy's still out there. And the race guy was like, no, ma'am, no. Everybody's in. Everyone's accounted for. My mom made it pretty clear, like, listen, there's only, 2 brothers out here. One, and both of them are with our group. One came through, and the other one is my kid, and he's not out. So you need to send a boat out there and get him. So through sheer willpower, she, had the guy send a boat out. And next thing I know, I see a speedboat coming towards me, guys waving and everything. And I'm like, eh. So they pulled me in the boat and, semi-rescued me because I was still there, but I had hypothermia. So once they pulled me out the water and I wasn't moving anymore, my body just completely shut down, went into shock, all that kind of fun stuff until, they dragged me in. And the more embarrassing of all of that is when we got to shore, I'm telling the guy, like, all right, I'm talking to him like, hey, you know what, I'll just walk out the boat, just take me to the tent, I'll recover. And at that moment, after telling him that, I realized that I'm blacked out. I'm not talking to anybody, but I'm just draped over the Brazilian guy's shoulder as he just drags my lifeless body from the boat to the med tent. And, I hear my mom and my friends in the corner, like, thinking I'm dead, and I'm talking to the guy. Like, I swear I was talking to him, but I realized, no, it was just all in my head. So got to the med tent, it took about an hour or so to warm me up, half dead. And, that was it. So after that.
I was going to say, one of the things with that, so ever since then, when my brother travels, because he did do Brazil again and conquer it, that my parents travel with him. So they've been able to see the world. They've gone to all the places he's gone for this Ironman, all these different continents. And my mom makes sure he comes out of the water. But Lloyd, as a coach, when he coaches someone, especially if this is their first one, he's like, I'm going to show up for your race, because he's going to make sure the people who he brought, who he trained, actually get out of the water as well. And that's a good coach, Lloyd.
Oh, yeah. Now, my athletes look forward to hearing me on the sideline with the cowbell to ring them in. And, they know I'm going to be there. Usually they see me when they go into the water. I'm the last friendly face they see, and then I'm waiting for them on the swim exit to make sure, and I'm keeping track of everyone.
Oh my, because I just love that. So because of this, and because you've been able to see the world through something you never dreamed of. This was not something you dreamed of as a child, to think that this was the way your life would go, to see the world.
Never. I still get a kick out of it now.
Oh my goodness. You know, because again, when I see my brother and he's posting different things, he did Kona. He works with nonprofits. So again, I have permission to ask and say, but what's one of the nonprofit groups you work with and train?
Oh, so right now I'm working with St. Jude. They're the title sponsor for the St. Jude Ironman 70.3 Memphis. That is on October 3rd. I've been tapped to be the triathlon coach for all of the heroes that are raising funds for St. Jude for this particular race. Mm-hmm. So, there are over 100 athletes who are raising money for St. Jude. It's my responsibility to make sure they're all trained up and ready for race day in October.
Okay, so that's great. So I know we're winding down, so we have about a little 10, 15 more minutes to do, but I want another story from you because again, talking about fitness, making fitness family friendly. So we as adult siblings, we've made a concerted effort to build relationships with each other because as in our DNA, we're loners. We could love each other, but be afar and never communicate. And we'll be just fine with it. We've seen this most of our lives. It would be nothing unusual for us to just communicate once a year and think nothing of it or see each other. All right. But we have done something different, purposely being intentional about crafting a dialogue on our relationships and keeping them open and honest so that people are comfortable where they are. But one of the things when we were training and different things, we've been able to learn new things about each other. So my brother has a way of putting pictures with words. So there's this mountain called the Beast in St. Croix, where it is a killer for that triathlon, for that half triathlon that they do on St. Croix. And so I remember the first time you tackled it and you wrote such a wonderful article about that. But share how sometimes you tackle obstacles, because I know sometimes you have in your head, you're singing a song from The Count. You do different things to get you motivated. I know I'm sharing stuff, but you knew you were taking a risk.
Yeah, so it's really about trying to find something to motivate you. For in St. Croix, with as Carla mentioned, the Beast it's a huge hill. I think it's like 20 to 30 degree gradient at some points. And the first few times I've tried to ride it, it's like you're riding and it's like it's basically like old school Batman on the side of a building trying to climb up with his rope. Like that's how steep it feels, trying to go up the side of that hill. And I'm pedaling and I picked up some bad advice before where, a guy was telling someone, hey, when you get to the bottom of the Beast, drop all your water bottles. It's gonna, take the weight off and, you'll be real light. And I was like, okay, he wasn't talking to me. Let's be clear. He was talking to someone else. I was like,
eavesdropping.
Yeah, I was eavesdropping, picking up all kind of tips like, I have no idea. Like, okay, that sounds reasonable. So, I got to the Beast and in pro fashion, I took both water bottles out, dropped them and started to go and, got, let's say 60 seconds. I'm being generous. 60 seconds worth of pedaling up the hill before I came to a grinding halt and fell over like, just stuck in my tracks. And I had no time to unclip. It was just falling over like timber with other cyclists ahead of me and behind me, just looking like, yeah, we can't help you either. And now I had to walk up, the remaining 1 mile of the course, and now it's hot. You're on asphalt, and I've got no water. So here I am. I've got a whole mile to walk in my bike shoes, pushing a bike up this mountain, no hydration. And I thought, like, this is the worst idea ever. And the crazy part is I get to the top of the hill, get hydration, finish the race, and I roll over, I find that guy who gave that advice to the other person, but, and I told a friend, and my friend was like, dude, he was just trying to holler at that girl. He was not giving any useful information. He was just talking. And I was like, I wish I had known because it was stupid. You know, I was like, yeah, if I'm a pro, it makes sense. For the regular person, it doesn't. So as a coach now, my athletes are well versed in Lloyd's rules of, you know, don't make friends at the race. The only person you're gonna listen to is me or one of your teammates. Don't pick up any stray advice that sounds good. If you didn't get it from me or one of, you know, our coaches or our team members, you know, I don't want you making any bad mistakes that you're gonna regret later.
Oh, wow. I love that because, again, one of the things that I want people to understand is perseverance. And that's one of the things we've been able to see you. Because how many years now have you been doing this, Lloyd?
The first one was 2002.
Okay.
I did my first triathlon in 2002. I did my first Ironman in 2004.
Wow. Wow.
And to when you said how many, since I just said more and more, I'm up to 25 now.
He's up to 25 and he's done the Boston Marathon. He did one crazy one that was over in Africa where you did how many miles, whatever. What was that? That extreme one?
Comrades Marathon, the world's largest ultra. It's a point to point. I think they've got like 50,000 folks. It's a 52 or 56 miles, depending on which direction they're running.
Oh, because again, our brother shares that with us and it inspires us. So even now when we're in a rut and I've put on some weight during this COVID-19, so my shirt is a little tight. So I'm going to be working on that. But his company is OnPoint Fitness. You can find him online. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram, OnPoint Fitness with no E, OnPoint Fitness. But when we talk about a family and health, we know that hypertension and obesity and other things run in our family. So we know that physical exercise, watching what we eat, is one of the best ways to control that and controlling our stress level as well. So exercise and these kinds of family activities that we can encourage each other about to do is just so important. So Lloyd, if somebody wanted to start a training program, is somebody ever too old to start? And we're winding down. We got like 5 more minutes.
Oh, no, never too old. Never too old. You know, the older you get, the better you get.
Say it again. Say it again.
The older you get, the better you get. Case in point, my training partner has me by 20 years, and I'm still chasing her, trying to beat her, and I've yet to do it. She lets me win on training rides from time to time, but we both know she's letting me do it.
So your training partner is 20 years older than you, and
I don't know her exact age, but she's in the age bracket in the 65 to 69 age bracket.
What?
And every weekend when we train together, you know, she's waiting for me at the stoplight, waiting for me to catch up. Sometimes she lets me get there first. So all that to say is you're never too old. I've got clients in their, you know, mid 70s. And when they finish their race, I've got other folks saying like, I wish I was as fast as that 70-year-old. So it's really just about getting started, picking something that you like, being active, and just getting out there.
Okay, because I know for us, when we started getting active, you gave us walking tips, you gave us training guides to do. So he can do it virtually, guys. If you guys are looking for a virtual coach, he gave us what we needed to be doing in order to be ready for a race 3 months down the line, 4 months down the line, with all of that information. So it's great for you to be able to share that. So we're going to be winding down, and thank you everybody online who's been answering and asking questions, because of course your friends have been saying, Sade said, ever too fat? LOL, joking. I'm working on it. Okay, so we've had quite a few people who've been just tuning in. So thank you for guys, if you're listening on the replay, we appreciate it. Health being a family affair. If you can get somebody else in your family excited about health, it makes it easier for you to have some accountability in moving. If it's just walking, I remember you had some videos, I don't know if you still have them on your channel on YouTube, where just sitting down, people
Oh
could
yeah,
do workouts just sitting down.
some chair exercises.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed at what you could get done just sitting in your chair,
Mhm.
in your office, whenever you
Mhm.
go back to an office or at your home office.
Right.
you
So
know,
there's no excuse.
no excuse. No
Okay,
excuse.
guys.
What I tell you, a great way is make it a family challenge. So whoever's in your household, we're all cooped up. Challenge everybody in the house to some sort of physical challenge, whether it's every day we're going to do X, every other day, and at the end of it, here's how we're going to chart our progress. And
Mhm.
you can gradually motivate and encourage each other as you're moving through in the same house or the same family unit. Because you're probably, like most families, you're competitive amongst yourselves. So it's a good way for a nice, friendly challenge.
Yes, yes. And if any of you want, I know several people that have virtual communities online on Facebook. If you would like to be connected, drop me a message and I would love to connect with you for accountability because they are there. So you may not have someone in your home. If you're living by yourself, you may not have anyone, but it is possible when you have somebody else there just pushing you. For us now in our family, our siblings are posting what they weigh on their scale, and I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh, doggone it, I need to get down to that. So I have something that's going to motivate me. Even though my daughters, I was like, you've been saying that for years, but I'm like, it's never too late. It's possible.
Yeah,
So Lloyd,
I think one of them got down to my weight the other day.
yes, yes. One of the sisters, she said
Yeah,
with this COVID-19, she hasn't been eating out or stopping at her favorite beverage place
yeah,
and saving money and lost weight.
yeah. That just means I need to start training again and get down into race weight. Now that she's hit my regular weight, it's time for me to hit race weight.
Okay, so before we go, we're going to be winding down. We're talking about stress and different things we can do. One of the things that people don't know about my brother is that he has many talents outside of fitness, but I won't share any one in particular other than he's a closet gardener. And I mean, he got tons of things he's gardening, especially before COVID and doing it now. So we take much pleasure because he didn't have a green thumb before. We would see our father doing this, and I plan to have my father on soon so you guys could meet him and hear his story as well too. But guys, find something out there that you can enjoy. If it's gardening, if it's sports or something, when you have to dig in the ground, that's a workout too. Whatever you can do that. So Lloyd, tell them how they can connect with you and what services you may be offering.
Sure. You can always find me on Facebook at onpointfitness.com. I'm on Instagram as OnPoint Fitness Coach. If you just need some help figuring out, how to start your fitness journey, you can, drop me an email, give me a buzz, and we can kind of sort it out. If you're already an athlete and you're just trying to get that next level of, how do I make a good plan to accomplish my goals without devoting my entire life to it and making it a part-time job, I can also help you with that. And if you're an athlete, that, a lot of races are being canceled. So it's really about figuring out how and what do you do now that races are canceled? How do you maintain your fitness with your goals being pushed back and, goal setting? So anything on the sports front that you need, whether it's just to bounce some ideas as to how to spend your summer without races, or, how do I get off the couch and make sure that when I come out of COVID-19, I'm looking fabulous and I feel healthy.
I like that. And so thank you so much, Lloyd, for allowing me to expose you to the world, because I know you're such a private person. But I just think that it's important that we just share this knowledge. So I want to thank those of you who tuned in. Oh, Tiffany called you out and said you can make a mean carrot cake. I wasn't going to put you on blast, but he know how to make some fudge. He know how to make some tart. He knows some peach cobbler. He could cook. Well, he could bake, guys. So
Yeah,
yes.
good. I can bake. I can bake.
Right, bake. So yes, I'm glad Tiffany could call that out because I was trying not to share too much, but that's what we're going to wrap up for today's conversations with Carla. I want you to tune in next week. I'm going to actually be talking with Tabitha Lewis, and she's going to be talking about happily living single. And so, for those of you out there who get tired of hearing somebody tell you when you get married, tune in next week for relationships with Tabitha Lewis to talk about happily living single, as we're going to have a great dialogue. But I want to thank all of you for listening and for tuning in. My name is Carla. I'm your relationship doula, helping men and women bravely birth peace in the pieces of their lives. Signing off, guys. Till next time. Bye bye.